Hi guys, today at the plant table we will talk about the Stromanthe Thalia. This plant table has been one of the most requested ones, so I thought that I should deliver on my promise to you guys. Before I start talking about this plant, I want to invite you to follow me on Instagram as we put daily plant posts and stories that you might enjoy. I hope to see you there. I have had the Triostar, the Stromanthe Thalia Triostar with me for a very long time now, and I remember seeing it in my local nursery for the first time, where the foliage simply caught my eye. The form of the plant with the leaves so majestically standing upright, and the striking color of the leaves made it stand out among all the greens over there. Each leaf of this plant looks like a work of art, and not only the top sides have a mix of green, pink, and cream, but the undersides too are absolutely stunning with its dark beet color. The non-variegated version of this plant is also beautiful, but it is plainer and less popular in comparison. Though so pretty and very tempting to buy, you need to be prepared to be challenged with the care of this plant. So with all this in mind, let's dive into this video. Plant background. This plant is native to the rainforests of Brazil. The Stromanthe Thalia is a species in the genus Stromanthe. There are around 19 to 21 species in this genus. The Stromanthe belongs to the family of the Marantaceae, commonly known as the prayer plant family. It is a rhizomatous tropical perennial that can reach up to 2 to 3 feet high. In ideal conditions, it can reach up to 4 feet high, is what I have read. It is very rare for a plant that is kept as a house plant in containers to flower. In its natural habitat, however, the flowers are bright pink bracts that grow around these panicles of pinkish white flowers, and they look rather pretty. Some quick facts. The triostar is one among some plants like the oxalis and plants from the Marantaceae family that can move their leaves either toward or away from the sun based on what it needs. So what happens is that the plant spreads out its leaves in the morning to soak the mild sun, and when the light gets very harsh in the afternoon, it closes up, and in the evenings you will find the plant upright displaying the deep red undersides of its leaves. This is how it looks. Now it's evening and all the leaves are all standing upright and you can see the red more than the variegated part. This here is the Stromanthe Thalia non-variegated one. It's got plain green leaves and there is a dark deep red uh, beet colored underside that it has. It is a plainer version. This here is the Stromanthe Thalia Triostar, which is a cultivar, and it's got these patches of cream and green and pinkish variegation and beautiful dark red undersides. And there is another one which is called the Magic Star. It's another cultivar, and I've been looking for it, haven't found it yet, not been able to spot it in any of the nurseries around here. The name Stromanthe Thalia was first validly published by Jose Mariano Veloso, but later revised and reclassified by a Mr. Braga in 1995. I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce these names, so I will put it on the screen. Now it's time to dive into the plant care. Sunlight. This plant needs bright indirect light. If you have a balcony like mine that is northeast facing, I can say that this plant will do well with you. If you have a very sunny window sill and there's a lot of light coming in from there, ensure that the light that falls on the plant falls through a sheer curtain. Under direct harsh light, the leaves might crisp up. So it's best to keep it protected from direct light. I would not recommend keeping this plant in darkness or very low light either. It is not a low light plant. I have also heard that the variegation may become lesser with lower light. So find a spot that the plant loves. It would be easy then to care for it. Water. I usually water thoroughly till the water drains down from the bottom drainage holes. I water again once the water on the surface of the soil dries up. So I poke my finger and see if a couple of inches down, if the soil is dry, then only I water again. Now remember, my Triostar is potted in clay soil, and I'll tell you why when we speak about soil in a few minutes. But because it is in clay, I notice it dries faster than it would if it was in a mix that had more coco peat and compost that is more moisture retaining. So depending on the soil, the light exposure that the plant has, and many other factors, how you water this one will change. All you need to remember is do not let the plant go thirsty. It prefers a moist mix. However, don't overwater it either. Find a balance with your watering schedule, and also keep a track of the weather change and change in seasons, and adjust the watering accordingly. In the dry months, you will need to water more frequently. There is one more thing that you need to keep in mind. If you use hard water or tap water that has chlorine or fluoride in it, then this might result in browning leaf edges. So what you have to do is you have to try and use mineral free water, and here are a few options. Distilled water. Here in India, it is not very easily available, and what is available is costly too. So that's an option you can think about. The next option is reverse osmosis water. Filters like this remove minerals from water. I personally use this, but when we take water from this filter, it throws out a lot of water and there's a lot of wastage. Ensure that you collect that and use it for your home chores or to water plants that are hardy and can handle those minerals. The next one is stayed water. This is another option where you fill a bucket of water and leave it overnight to let the chlorine evaporate. Another option is aquarium water. You could use this, but be careful as you could end up over fertilizing your plant if you are using this very frequently, because aquarium water is rich in potassium, phosphorus, nitrogen, and other micronutrients. It is a great way to consistently fertilize your plant, and my brother uses this method, but he switches in between to regular water as well. Soil. Like I told you some time back, my TriStar has always been in clay soil and it has never complained. The thing is that here in India, most nurseries put plants in clay soil, and when I bought mine, it was in clay soil. I didn't repot it into a moisture retaining mix as I thought I would wait till the plant shows any signs of distress, but it didn't, and it stayed that way for a very long time. So I kept it in the same pot. Plants can always surprise us. Anyway, what most gardeners feel is that a loamy soil substrate suits this plant better. Loamy soil is approximately 40% sand, 40% silt, and 20% clay. A more practical to make mix I would recommend would be 30% river sand, 20% vermicompost, 10% coco peat, 10% gravel, 10% perlite, and 20% clay. Humidity. Humidity is probably the most important thing for this romance. I live in Mumbai where the humidity is pretty high, like other coastal states and cities. In spite of that, when the summer comes, my Stromanthe suffers terribly. With the very high temperatures and dryness in the air, it is best that you take extra measures to increase the humidity around this plant. You can use a humidifier, humidity trays, and if you are blessed to have a greenhouse, then the plant will not complain. If you have a smaller plant, it will be easy to bag it to trap in the humidity, but that is a great option to think of. Misting. I use a fine mister to mist this one very often in the summer and winter, at least twice in a day. I use mineral free water to do it, and in the rainy season, I only mist it on days when it doesn't rain. It responds very well to mist. Fertilizing. I personally use seaweed solution or an organic mild fertilizer for this plant, something that is water soluble. Sometimes I do top up the soil with a little bit of vermicompost or cow manure. The Stromanthe is pretty sensitive to heavy fertilizers, so I keep it light for this one. You could fertilize this one as frequently as once every month, but with a very mild fertilizer. Toxicity. The good news here is that this one is safe for pets and babies. It is one of the few houseplants that you can keep if you have toddlers and furries running around in your house. Grooming. No matter how hard you try, you may end up with crisp up leaves, and that is a risk you have to be willing to take if you want to keep this plant. If this bothers you, then you can simply cut around the edges of the leaf, keeping the shape of the leaf in mind and maintaining that shape as you cut. Because I mist it often with soft water, I have no issues of hard water stains and dust on the leaves. If you do have hard water stains or dust on the leaves, wiping the leaves occasionally can be a thing you do to keep the leaves looking fresh and stunning. What you have to do is use a damp microfiber cloth to do this. You can also cut off the dried older leaves as and when you spot them, keeping your plant looking gorgeous at all times. Temperature. It prefers a temperature of 18 to 26 degrees Celsius, that is 65 to 80 degrees Fahrenheit. That is the reason when the temperature in summer goes up to 35 degrees Celsius and more in some cities, this plant shows a lot of discomfort. It is important to do all you can to cool the plant, either shift it to a cooler room or increase the humidity around it and keep it away from hot air drafts. Check my video on summer care for plants for more tips. I will leave the link in description down below. Growth. The Stromanthe, in my opinion, is a slow growing plant. Under perfect conditions, it may grow a little faster, but not significantly faster. I do, however, notice growth spurts in the rainy season and in spring. Propagation. Propagation by division is best for this plant. When the plant has filled a pot and has no more space to spread, you simply divide it into two pots. But this can take time as it grows slowly. And just keeping the plant happy and thriving is a task in itself. Problems. In my experience in keeping this Stromanthe, I have never had any pest affected. Though it has had neighboring plants getting hit by mealybugs and spider mites, this plant has steered clear of all pests. However, while researching, I came across gardeners who talked of thrip and red spider mite infestations. So you may want to keep an eye out for that. The only issue you will see with this plant are crisping of leaf edges caused by high temperatures, low humidity, dryness, or minerals in water. Curl leaves caused by underwatering, low humidity, and high temperature. Yellowing or pale leaves can be caused because of overwatering and pots that are not draining well. The water is not draining well, and this could be because of clogged drainage holes. All you need to do is unclog those holes and ensure that the water drains out well and let the soil substrate dry before you water again. I really hope you find this video useful and it helps you to understand this tricky to handle plant. If you do, please take a moment to give us a thumbs up. Also, if you are new here, please do subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon for further notifications of new videos. I really hope to see you next week. Till then, stay green.